Elbow,
Here.
Carrot,
Here.
Dennerlein,
Here.
Horton,
Here.
Jackson, here, White,
Here.
Brown.
Here. Quorum declared. Is anybody here for public comments not directly tied to one of the agenda items today? Yes, please come up, state your name and address. I believe you have 3 minutes to talk about anything that is relevant to this commission.
Sure. David Check, 400 North Dodge. And I'm here with Alice, who lives on Bench Street. And Craig, you know about this. I just realized that this meeting takes place today, so I'll try to be quick. There's a piece of property that we've been trying to acquire and restore for some time now. And Craig knows he's been involved. I was trying to purchase it. And we realized that at some point we're going to need your help in figuring out what we're allowed to do with it. It's we've been talking to the history guys at the library. Building was built sometime between 1893 and 1912, but we can't figure out exactly when. Seems to be built for commercial purposes. It's a big 2-story, 20 by 40 foot ironclad tin roof building. But there's some structural things that we're worried about. And so I was trying to find out more about the committee to find out, because we'll probably need your help in what we can do to it. We're hoping to restore it, but could be that they're going to tell us that structurally it has to be torn down. There's a major concern I have of foundation is pulled away from a rear wall, which supports the roof 2 stories up. I'm not a structural engineer, but a heavy snowfall, I think, could do some serious damage there. And it's a real interesting building, because inside there's like this shaft that goes up 2 stories and through the roof, and below it there's like some type sort of crib with a special separate door. There's nails and all the beams up above, like if they're trying something. We're really curious as to the history of it, so we've been working with the library and what the heck is it? We thought it might be a shoe factory, cigar factory, carpentry shop, blacksmith shop. It's a pretty cool building. We're hoping we can purchase it. Craig knows we've been trying to purchase it for a while. We made a bid, but we haven't heard back from the guy. But if we are able to get it, we're going to need to do something with it. I think we're going to need to do something quick, because I worry about 2 major problems. One, that foundation, which is holding the load-bearing wall that supports the roof. And the roof rafters, the soffits are all rotted away. So the roof rafters, you can see where they've tried to mend them. I could show you guys pictures sometime. I know I only got 3 minutes, but anyhow, I just wanted to introduce the idea to you. It's not on the agenda, but when I noticed this morning you had this meeting, I wanted to introduce you guys to the idea that there's this cool building that seems to have some historical impact because of the age of it, some kind of commercial use, we don't know, but we'd like to buy it and refurbish it, hopefully not have to tear it down, hopefully be able to save it, and that's why we're going to need your guys' help at some point. So
Where's the property address it is?
there is no address, so it's in the alley behind 115 North Bench Street. It's basically in her backyard.
Okay.
And that's kind of why what made us interested in it, because it's being used somewhat as a garage now. There's an old car in there. It's a 2-car garage door. And if you're on Bench Street, there's no place for us old farts to park when it gets busy. We have to walk down, so. Our original interest was just to have it for storage and parking, but once we were in there, seeing that cool 2nd floor, and she can maybe use it as an art studio.
It's a
like
separate
maybe as a
property
music
than
studio.
any of the properties on Bench,
It is, Chuck.
is it?
Yeah, it's in the alley right by the back of the NAC office.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Very end.
Miss Burlingame on that still?
yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay. I'm aware of
It
it.
owns it.
Yeah.
If you go down to the library Saturday when Steve's there, I was there today, they got some information for you.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be very cool. We're just, as we've tried to research ourselves, we've gone through, it looks like it was owned by the shoemaker, maybe built shoes in there and they used that shaft to throw stuff down. And we thought, oh no, maybe it's a cigar factory and they were drying leaves on those pegs, and then we're thinking, it looks like maybe it was possibly owned by a blacksmith, but it seems like there must be some historical significance to what this commercial building was used for. And either way, I want to park my damn car in there. So I don't have to walk all the way from Prospect Street down to Bench Street, because I'm too damn old for that in my 70s.
So David, you work everything through Jonathan. He permits or doesn't permit things. He decides what comes in front of this board. So that's the route you go. And
Yeah.
please don't take the advice from anybody to tear it down, because that's a dirty word.
Yeah, and we don't want to. It's when we finally got access inside and saw how cool it was, and that nice second floor has some nice flooring. Of course, at the ends, it's all rotten and have to be
Right.
fixed. But it'd be cool as is, you know.
It's been derelict for a while.
Have to fix the stairs, have to put in new windows and do something with the siding to make it watertight. That old car, I've got pictures, it's sinking in the mud. And some mechanics have told me that's really bad news for a car, but
If
I'd like to restore it. I'd like to use it as a studio for
it
her.
was the shoe man, he might have kept his bear in there because he had a tame bear.
I mean, I got terrible at hearing.
I said, if it was the shoe man's, Strohmeyer's, I said he had a tame bear, he may have kept the bear in there.
Ah.
So be careful.
Yeah, the bear may still be in there.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Anyhow, that's my 3 minutes. I want to at least introduce the idea to you guys. I know it's not on the agenda, but I'm gonna need your help, advice, whatever.
Fair enough.
So, thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other comments, public comments not tied to an item? Alice?
Can I just add one thing?
Sure. Say,
The main thing is I'm concerned that that is right in my backyard and it's falling apart and nobody's doing anything with it. I've called the city on that several times, so
Yeah.
to me, it's a hazard the way it is.
Yeah, that rear foundation is pulled away. I've got photographs. The rear wall, which is a 40-foot long wall, and it supports the rafters go front to back, so it's supporting the roof. That's just floating in air. You've got a 2-story building where that wall, load bearing wall is just floating in, you know,
Yep.
in the air. That's why I say, good heavy snow and.
it'll be dealt with,
Yeah.
but it isn't coming down, so get that out of your mind.
It's not-
It's selling, it, it's not coming down. Okay, anybody else with public comments? Hearing none, I'll just entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the June 6th meeting.
I so move.
Second by Mr. Carroll. All in favor by voice vote, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to the first agenda item, which I believe to be is it the solar? panels? It's right. Good job. Solar panels at 1004 Park Avenue, otherwise known as the Annie Wiggins Building. I'm assuming Mr. West and Mr. Mattingly are here for that reason. We don't have a very good picture. We have 2 garages in back with it. Jonathan was nice enough to circle, but we have to go. We can't see where the arrays are. At least I couldn't, perhaps. others
On that, it'll be on both sides of that garage I circled.
Yeah.
Just on the garage?
Yep,
Yeah.
Just on the garage.
both sides of that.
Yeah, on that garage, there. Right there, the one you see.
Well, he circled 2 garages.
That's the one.
That's not accurate.
Yeah.
I mean, so I meant to circle that.
Okay, I took it as still both of them.
Yeah.
So this has nothing to do.
I guess I didn't do a good job.
It's that the
Big
whole
circle.
thing.
Yeah, anyway. That's the neighbors.
Oh, yeah.
Is it black on black?
Yes, it is. Solar would only be going on that garage, that we're not putting anything on the actual old historic building.
Visible from 20, but not dramatically so. It's not
Right.
facing 20.
No.
And it is edge to edge, that we also have much more just a big black surface rather than seeing it dim.
Seems like a reasonable accommodation to me. What's everybody else think?
It's reasonable to me, the location of it. As long as it's not in the house.
Well, as long as it's not in the house and the roof's directly pointed at 20, it just doesn't seem intrusive. Seems like it fits the criteria just fine.
I move that we approve the solar panels on the garage.
So I have a Craig Arbaugh moved, Cassie and Jeremy White seconded. Further discussion? Sorry, we didn't give you a chance to talk.
No,
But we've heard from you before, lots of times. Anybody else have any? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Dennerlein,
yes,
Horton,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
White,
yes,
Elbow.
Yes.
Carol,
Yes.
Brown.
Yes, motion carries. Item number 2, possible action, Tony Morel, applicant, as well as Carmela Cordero, 232 North Main Street. The perfect picture of what's going on. What is not is the application is remarkably lacking in what it is they plan on doing. I don't know what smoothing out means.
He wants to parch that wall.
The entirety of it? Yeah, that's I mean, okay. One, the building, it doesn't need to be covered up and it needs to be repaired. And parging, in my opinion, as a contractor, is saying put vinyl siding over anything. It just covers it up. It's totally aesthetic. It has no value.
Well, it wouldn't have been on Main Street in the first.
Right, it's not allowed on Main Street, period.
Right. And the other thing is you can't successfully parge that with all of that stuff in it. You just can't. It can't be done.
that's all
properly.
fire damage from when that building burned.
Yeah,
There is no mortar left in that wall whatsoever.
right.
And that's what he's trying to avoid doing, is actually a correct mortar job and then painting.
Yeah,
That-
exactly.
And
No
that's
question.
just not gonna fly.
Yeah, I told him he could, once he mortar, once he tuck points it all, he could paint it all again.
Yeah, I wouldn't have any objection to repainting it once it's fixed, but.
Well, all the
parging,
buildings,
fix
when I
it.
was a child here, was all painted, practically everything on Main Street was kind of painted.
Right,
Yes.
yeah, there's no problem.
I make the motion, we deny the application.
Yeah, I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second, Cassie. Any further discussion?
Yeah.
When you're ready, Cassie, call the roll, please.
Horton,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
White,
Yes,
Elbow.
Yes.
Carol,
Yes.
Dennerlein,
Yes.
Brown.
Yes, motion carries.
Okay.
Moving on to item 3.
Let's get into this.
This was tabled at the last meeting. Paul Orzeski, owner and applicant, wanting 4 single-family homes, 201 North High Street. Mr. Orzeski, we can clearly see that you have changed somewhat the style of those homes, but I'm going to leave the floor to you.
Good evening, committee members. As you just stated, yes, we made some changes. Last meeting we were at, we were referenced to 505 Park. We changed the window patterns, larger windows, not as many, no transoms. We removed the board and batten, the members thought it looked like a chalet. We took a lot of filigree out. As you can see, there's a good amount of filigree at 505. What we did not remove, and in the backside, we also removed the wire handrail system. We went back to a straight picket, a painted picket with newel post. A lot of the ornamentation on the horizontal supports for that deck, for the balcony was removed. We went casement windows that look like a 202, but we are keeping the canopy or cover over the porch. We provided in here numerous photographs of homes in the area that have covered porches. And on the side of, at least on the south side, you can see 2 homes that have canopy covered porches next to the 505 on Park Avenue. And then again, we went throughout the neighborhood, different volumes, different ornamentation on covered porches. We believe that's important for the aesthetics of the house, for the use of the house, for any time, for any home buyer, they want to utilize this is to take advantage of the views looking north out to Franklin. We also provided a kind of an updated, but again, not sure of the access to the rear or to the north of 201 and the street configuration. This is yet to be worked out in the city. We're not exactly sure what that's going to come to be. We also provided as a courtesy on the conceptual site plan and renderings, and again, the color copies don't do the color on the computer screen any favors. We are utilizing the existing brick. We'll match any brick that needs to be repaired, removed, rebuilt. There are two different colors. This is a darker color on the rectory side, more of an orangish color on the school side, but again, it doesn't show anything like it really is, like it exists. Right now, we're looking at black windows. I don't know if that's going to be the final window color. The existing window color right now is, I believe, a 6/6 wood black. Most of the windows are gone. There's nothing to repair. So we're utilizing some type of custom window, probably out of Chicago, where we can come back and rebuild 6/6 wood insulated glass true button frames. Yeah, that's going to be a wood window, both interior, exterior, painted. Color wise, I just put in here for a plug for the presentation tonight. The other thing is that we'll have to talk about is there's two different types of roofs. We have a 3-tab shingle and then a standing seam. Both need to be removed, replaced. I would prefer to have a standing seam all the way across both buildings. But again, I don't know what the historic roof looks like. I don't have any photographs in any information on the rectory. We do have old photographs of the school that has a shingle roof. I don't want to say it's a shake roof, but I think it's some type of shingle. We already talked to several people at the library. We're limited on information on the interior of the school. We have interior photographs, but it's of the class. And then you get some of the interior finishes of the classroom. But again, it's bare minimum. There's not much there. We were trying to incorporate that into a design, but if we're looking at having this as a boutique inn, we're going to have a little more definition within the space. Again, I don't know what that is at the moment. We also have on here the proposed, I won't say proposed, conceptual site plan for parking, I want to say 15 or 16 exterior ADA ramp to the front of the building and terraces in the back and on the side. Again, this is only conceptual. We're going to have to somehow terrace the parking because right now the slope of the street will not allow for ADA accessibility, or for that matter, maybe a problem as far as final grade, as far as a walk surface. That's where we are right now. We still have to go back and actually design the actual, what we're calling the Grace, the school. So again, these are two separate projects. I know there was some discussion about tying both projects together. These are two separate projects. We're not willing to tie these together, but certainly, obviously, we're going to be talking with the board members here on the actual design of the exterior of the school and obviously 201 High Street.
So at the last meeting, by one person vote, it was sent back to redesign the 4 houses. Some of us were opposed to approving it at all if it was not tied to directly the restoration of St. Mary's School and Rectory. They are two separate lots apparently with two separate investment groups. But in my research, and I handed it out to everybody, and I would like to start, we only have 3 sets of criteria to go by. The National Park Service has guidelines. The National Park Service has historic standards. So those are 2 completely separate sets of guidelines. And then we, of course, have an ordinance in this town. We are bound by the National Park Service standards and guidelines. That is why we are a certified city and we have this historic commission. So the last page of what I handed out, and again, I'm the biggest proponent of, I have no interest in these houses unless that gets us our St. Mary's School and Rectory restored. Without that, it is of no value to this commission at all, in my opinion. And now I'd like to show you why. The Secretary of Interior Standards, I highlighted it, it's the last page. It's under a title, Historic Preservation Tax Incentives. A property's historic function must be evident even if there is a change of use. He's talking about putting 4 houses right over a playground. So that's exactly contrary to that standard. New construction should be placed away from or at the side or rear of historic buildings and must avoid obscuring, damaging, or destroying character-defining features of these buildings. Again, he's talking about putting something right up on a hill in the most prominent area possible, completely visible from Franklin. Protecting the historic setting and context of property, including the degree of open space. The open spaces will be annihilated. For example, a historic building traditionally surrounded by open space must not be crowded with dense development. Right out of the National Park Service standards, it is exactly what Mr. Ozeski plans on doing. Contributing buildings must not be isolated from one another by insertion of new construction. Utterly surrounded by the most historic buildings in this town, and right in the middle of it, he wants to put 4 brand new buildings. When visible and in close proximity to historic buildings, the new construction must be subordinate to these buildings. I can't imagine anything less subordinate. It sits high above Franklin, completely visible from Franklin, and completely reconfigures what I would call the hill, the most historic part of our community, who sits right up above town here. So in every regard, he does not meet the standards of the National Park Service. When you look at their guidelines, they talk about settings. That's the last 2 pages. Identifying, retaining, and preserving building and landscape features, which are important in defining the historic character of the setting. Such features can include roads, streets, furnishings such as lights or benches, vegetation, gardens, yards, adjacent open spaces such as fields, parks, commons, and woodlands, and important views or visual relationships. As Craig Garbaugh can show you, this was basically somebody's in-house, in-town garden yard for years and years before it became a playground for the school. All of that's going to be wiped out. Then when you go to our ordinance, same problem. Standard A, every reasonable effort should be made to provide a compatible use for a property that requires minimal alteration of building structure or site and environment, or to use property for its original intended purpose. That is not what's occurring here. Standard B, the distinguishing original qualities or character of a site and its environment shall not be destroyed. That is exactly what we're doing. I skipped down to I and J. New additions or related new construction shall not be discouraged when such design is compatible with size, color, scale, material, and character of the property, neighborhood, and environment. He's plopping it right down on St. Mary's property, essentially. He's changing it completely. The same is true of J. Adjacent or related new construction shall be undertaken in such a manner that if removed in the future, the essential form and integrity of the historic property and its environment will be unimpaired. He's got driveways, parking, retaining walls. Nothing will be the same if for some reason those buildings went away. I'm going to capitulate to this board's decision last week to treat this as two separate lots. I think it's a mistake because the only incentive I see for us to even look at these four buildings would be it creates the economic feasibility of restoring St. Mary's School. And if it's for any other reason, I don't even see why we would entertain it. But I capitulated, and I'm going to look at this project as a separate lot with separate investors. And it offends every ordinance and standard that is applicable to this board. And for that reason, I resoundingly think this needs to be rejected.
Yeah.
So
I
basically,
would
you're
agree.
telling me that vacant lot is non-developed.
By the way you want to do it, that's a fact.
And then by what way would it be developed?
Well, for example, if the city wanted to put a park there, it'd be absolutely developable for that reason.
Why didn't the city provide a park there in the past? It's been vacant for decades.
It's been vacant a lot longer than that.
Well, I don't know how many decades, but decades.
It was somebody's backyard and garden for 100 years. Does that
Whose
mean it needs to
backyard?
be
Whose
developed?
garden?
It doesn't need to be developed.
Whose backyard and whose garden?
Can you put the picture up?
Sure.
His name was Schreimer. He had a hall there on Franklin Street. That's that big building. And it went all lot 15 and 20 something went all the way back to Elk Street. And I have a picture of it, so.
And how long ago?
That was 1870. And then in 1840,
1940.
or 1940, another gentleman owned that whole lot. And the church didn't get that till after 1940.
And then they turned it
Then
into
they
a playground
playground.
for the school. But it's always been undeveloped by your standard of what developed means.
Okay, so it was developed as a garden?
It was basically a guy's backyard.
Green space in general.
And he had gardens there, yeah, like everybody did back in those days. You know,
But okay, I agree, it's a green space. We cut down all the vegetation, the overgrown vegetation. But that's historic. You lost me here. Because no one's been using it. I doubt if most people knew it was there. The only reason that people not know of it is that we're proposing 4 homes here. And we're trying to hold hostage the development of this property with the restoration of St. Mary's School.
would you like to see the picture?
So this vacant area, oops, I got it. This vacant area,
He,
Was it?
he owned from here all the way up to
okay,
there.
so at one point in time, the city came in and revised that land.
No, St. Mary's did.
No, for roads.
No, you're
No.
seeing the road.
There's roads right
You
here,
can see the road and the sidewalk right in the picture.
right there.
There's no switchback turn here.
Up here,
Yeah,
so
that was done by the city.
It
that
was done
right,
by the city in conjunction with St. Mary's School.
that road used to come down
You
there.
have new homes on that. You have on that upper level of Elk, you have new homes. That was not done with St. Mary's.
New homes.
On Elk Street?
They're all historic homes.
There's a, I don't think this is here anymore, but only have one.
There are no new homes there. I did the research in all those homes.
Okay, but there is a new switchback road, which is Elk Street, going east. That was installed by, not the church, but by the city.
He means when you come around the corner of Elk.
Come down.
When you
Yeah.
go around, high,
Now you go straight down.
He's saying right up here.
I guess I don't get what difference that makes.
Yeah, see this barn
there
down
was,
there.
there was revisions to a so-called
comes like this.
historic parcel of land by the
Yes, all-
city. Didn't seem like it was an issue when the road was installed. I don't think the road was installed back in the 1800s.
This commission started in 2004. That's when we got our CLG.
And I'm not sure what that means to me, because if you're looking back in the 1800s, telling me that there was some type of garden back there, and then you tell me, well, you need to get your CLG until 2000. There was work performed on this prior, not by the church, not by an individual, but the city.
So your argument is if the city in any way changed this space anytime in the last 200 years that we've existed, that therefore that allows you to build 4 houses on it and do what you want to do. Is that your argument?
My argument is that we're looking at two different standards here. If the city comes in and changes something that's historic, an open space, which no longer retains that condition as shown in that photograph. Not from us, not from anything we've done. But now if we're gonna go back and change that empty space, green space, that no one probably knew about until we started presenting proposals here, all of a sudden it's historic and it's a treasured green space. So what does it
Just a
become
second.
if it can't be developed?
1 second. I have a picture here, different picture. Shows that curve that you're talking about and the road coming down.
Yes,
It's a Y like, and the old, and steps in there that are still there today, because they're, this is an old picture. And they're there then.
when?
Well, let's see.
When that switchback was put in.
Yeah, it's just back there. This is probably before. Okay, the church was still in operation up on Hill Street, so. Oh, this is not early 1900s, yeah.
It's the second half of school was, yeah, which was done.
Great.
in 1910s.
Yeah, this is before 1910.
But we have lots of non-conforming situations in town that occurred before we had this board. We have vinyl siding in a lot of places we wish we didn't, for example. So that argument could be used virtually on anything. Our goal is what we're doing from 2004 forward, and that's what our job is for.
Okay, then I ask the same question. That vacant parcel, how can that be developed?
Does it need to be? Is that one of the requirements?
For me, yes.
I can understand that, but that's,
Okay.
does this board have to make every lot developable?
You made any.
I don't know. Please, if you want to come up and identify yourself, you're welcome to speak. Otherwise,
Well, then you don't want this property developed. It's
I
either
have
yes or
made
yes or
very
no.
clear that your proposal offends every standard we're bound by. Correct. But I am one vote, and you know what my vote is. And I explained to you in great depth why it is. Does that mean that I don't want your property or any other property developed? No such ubiquitous statement applies here. All I'm saying is I've looked at what you proposed, where you proposed it, and I believe I am bound by the standards that this board is bound by. And that
Okay,
you
then
cannot
under-
do what you're trying to do.
Under what realm can this be developed?
I don't. That is not, we're not here for that. We are not here to facilitate you developing a lot. I know that's the business you're in and important to you, but that isn't the business we're in. We're in the business of holding the integrity of the historic district of this town. That is what we're here for.
Okay, so then the vacant lot being vacant, non-usable, no perceived benefit to the neighbors is what you want to move forward with. Because again, this lot, I know for a fact because of how overgrown it was, nobody's used it. Most likely, no one was aware of it until we started cutting stuff down. And this board was made aware of our proposal.
We were all aware of it because we
And
had
you used
other
it how many
proposals.
times?
We've seen other proposals for the same area.
Okay, and you used this
We're
how
well
many
aware.
times? And the neighbors used this how many times?
I don't get that.
Okay, I understand.
Can you
the
show
point.
me in the ordinance
Changes
where it
bad.
says that's important to us?
It's your town. You shouldn't be, that shouldn't be important. But
Whether
these-
it's used?
Yes.
Sounds like a developer to me, but that is not a criteria we go by.
Can I ask you a question?
But
And I'm just wanting clarification, what you read back there.
Mhm.
If I understand what you read, it's saying that a group of houses, if somebody wanted to put a single home on there, that would be a different,
It would still, these standards would still apply
The standards are
to
still
that.
applied.
I mean, The answer to under what circumstances that can be developed, it meets these criteria.
Every
It's just
criteria
that
there is saying it can't be developed.
So there you go. That's your answer.
Okay,
I don't know how much clearer that could be made.
fine.
We haven't had a vote. Again, Chuck and I are 2 votes. We have 7
Well,
people.
again, to say something historic because it's a vacant lot, it's never been used. It's needed for the neighborhood community. No one's used it. No one's using it now because it's owned by a private individual. I mean, that's backwards thinking.
And you're entitled to that.
And thank you very much. But
You
again,
can have this
what you're
overturned by
saying
city
is
council.
that is non-developable because it's a historic vacant lot.
We're
That was
saying
not, that was not my statement. My statement is if you can follow these guidelines, you can develop it all you
And
want.
my statement was you can't do anything because it's somehow a benefit to.
It's within the National Historic District and it falls under these guidelines. It's just that freaking simple, man. How hard is it?
Okay, well, then it's undevelopable.
There you go. So are you done? Because we're done.
I'm done.
Okay. Sorry.
Anybody on the commission want to comment? The back and forth thing is productive. Anybody?
I just don't see what it would add to the historic nature of the area. It's just, all of a sudden you're pop, something brand new in a rather historic district. I just think we can't go against what we're bound to.
What bothers me, and I'm not, saying I'm for this or against this, but if that lot sits there and what about other lots in town? In other words, they can't build a house on another lot in a historic district?
Each and every time we're supposed to get a look at it, and it's supposed to meet these standards. A single house on Dewey Avenue is a very different thing than a complete development next to.
That's what I
a
asked you
school.
before. I'm saying, you're saying the cluster of houses are what they're saying we shouldn't have, not just a single home. Well, because I'm just thinking of a lot of lots in town that are in historic districts that somebody could sell.
It's utterly changing the character of the place he's plopping it. That place is a church and a school and a rectory.
Understand?
It's not Dewey Avenue.
I think it's each situation.
Right.
But it's,
Did I misunderstand? You said prior that if the financial outcome of these 4 homes, this proposed development is a benefit to the redevelopment of the school, that's something that you would take in consideration.
We are allowed, to a certain extent, to get practical about the economic requirements of getting something like the St. Mary's School and Rectory restored in a manner that's extremely valuable to this board. And for that reason, we can capitulate on certain things to get that accomplished, to make it economically viable. But when that isn't on the table and all we're talking about doing is utterly changing the character of an area of our historic district, then I don't know what to
Right,
do
so
with
if we
that.
say hypothetically that's on the table, then are these 4 homes something that the board would consider? And I don't know how I tie this in because there's 2 different entities legally. I don't know financially. I don't know how we tie this in. We can't necessarily create one entity. There'll have to be something else that's developed where phase 1 homes, phase 2 the school. I don't know the mechanics of that.
If you figure that out and you want to amend your application or reapply, it certainly would mean more to us if the project encapsulated the entire restoration problem we're having there versus plopping a new development in the middle of a place that it doesn't belong.
Okay, so if we hypothetically speak to the 4 homes are going to be tied to mechanically how that happens legally, financial. Am I then hearing that the board would be more inclined to approve the 4 homes? Because I don't want to go through the process of figuring this
I would,
all
I
out and
would
I
not
come
let-
back.
I would not assume that. I would assume that we would take a look at the whole project in a completely different light if the restoration of St. Mary's School and Rectory were a primary component of that application. I think
Okay.
it would be looked at completely different.
And that would entail, are we looking to have floor plans for the school in presentation? Or are we just concerned with exterior site plan elevations? Because again, the other issue here is the street. I have no answer to the street.
Well, and we don't either, because there was a project a few years back that a quasi-government agency did that involved a brand new facility that was 30 condo units, but involved the street, the parking, the St. Mary's School, and a community group on top of the hill allied around that and shot down any possibility of putting High Street back up to the top of the hill. And I don't know whether that happens this time or not. That isn't our business. That's another thing entirely. But I could tell you, we were excited about the proposition of getting St. Mary's School and Rectory truly restored and usable again. We were very excited about that proposition.
Okay, then to ask my question again, if we work this out financially, legally, so forth, so on, to represent this in front of the board, are we looking at more of a definitive proposal for the exterior, the shell, plus the site plan to be presented here? Or are we looking into interiors as well?
We would, and again, I speak as one vote, we would want it substantively usable so it stands the test of time. So just creating a pretty shell isn't going to get anywhere, even though that is the extent of our jurisdiction. We are going to understand that if it is not substantively restored, it will not stand the test of time. It'll just sit there and rot again. So it needs to be a usable, in your case, you wanted it to be a bed and breakfast, but it could be a number of different things. But it needs to be substantively restored so that we know long after we're not here anymore, that building's up there and it's a part of the history of this town.
Okay, I'm gonna ask my question again. Is this board looking for floor plans? Is it looking for elevations with a construction narrative, development narrative for the school? Or are you looking for actual floor plans? Now, Ken, you keep saying that you're only looking at the exterior. Okay, but how do I make a substantive reconstruction of the property unless you're gonna want me to perform each time full construction documents?
I think you just answered your own question.
So we have to provide them.
Yeah, that sounds like it.
But if we do that, am I gonna hear from this board, oh, we don't want the 4 homes? Because if I can't get 4 homes, school's not happening, plain and simple.
We understand the economic viability of these projects.
Okay. But again, I asked the same question.
They can't tell you that answer. Man.
Right, we
They
can't
can't
sit
tell you
here.
because they don't know what you're giving them for the school.
Right.
They can't tell you they're gonna approve 4 homes on the lot next door, not knowing what you're gonna do to the school. That's what they're trying to tell you.
Right.
They need to know what's gonna happen to the school. There's no, yeah, but that's the answer. That's what they're trying to say. They need to know what's happening to the school.
Okay, all
And you
right.
keep asking them, are you going to
I'll
approve
play
my
along
houses
and
if I,
see what happens
if I do the
next time.
school? They don't know what you're gonna do to the school yet.
Okay,
But it's very valuable to us. Don't underestimate how important that is to us. It's very important. Very.
all right.
Can I get a motion?
Motion to deny.
A motion to deny. Do I have a second from Jeremy White? Whenever you're ready, Kathy,
Yeah.
call the roll, please.
Jackson. Yes. White.
Yes.
Elbow.
Yes.
Carol.
Yes.
Dennerlein.
Yes.
Horton.
Yes.
Brett.
Yes. Thank you. We do look forward to that proposal, honestly. One more piece of business from the chair. Huge thank you to Craig Arbaugh. You have been a terrific member of this board. Your research is always impeccable. You give us great pictures of stuff that are as old as it possibly can be. And we will miss you dearly and thank you so much for what you've done.
Thank you. I'm gonna miss this.
And I get called upon.
Say, I'm not done calling you.
Don't change your
But
phone
I
number.
would like to say one thing. One thing I think this board, or we need to look into is some kind of booklet that gives the criteria, what we preserve, like the sidings, so that when realtors sell places or they come in here for the water bill, they get a copy, so that they don't just go and do things like that one poor little girl did on Ridge Street. I think we need something like that. I've always felt that way, it should be a booklet that says, okay, here, you can do this. If you're not sure, come to Jonathan. Or,
Well, I think that should be included.
yeah, and some, I think we need to, that'll help them understand, because a lot of people come buy the house and they don't understand, they just start doing things.
They don't know what to do.
Yeah.
I agree.
It's a good idea, but ultimately, Jonathan runs that show, so if he wants that booklet,
You just put another.
But the interesting thing is, it's all available. It's there.
it is there. It doesn't
I mean-
take much to find it.
I think Craig's point is if you hand it to somebody, you're basically giving it to them and they don't have to come and do a little work for it. I think they should have to work for it a little bit. All you gotta do is read the ordinance.
I know, but a lot of people come and just don't even think about it and do it.
Oh, trust me, I know that.
What I'm saying is, if you hand them something and say, you have to follow these rules, if you're gonna remodel or something, then they're gonna look at it. Not go ahead and do something. I mean, that poor girl ended up with two sidings.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
So anyway, that's the last thing I want to say.
This is kind of off point. How much, in anybody's opinion, does this sound a lot like the Parker? We'll do this if you give me this. That's bullshit. I'm sorry. I mean, but it's parallel to me. But I'm heavily involved in the Parker, and I don't want to get off on that. But it seems a lot like that.
There's a
That
huge
attitude.
difference in that the Parker's not in the historic district.
Correct.
And candidly, it's worth a lot to me to have that Marine Hospital restored. It's worth a lot to me. It just is.
I get that. I don't
We
think.
landmarked it and now we want to restore it. And all the other stuff that surrounds it, to me, is largely none of our business. I mean, you personally, yes, but this board, no, it's none of our business.
No, I get that. I'm just asking about if anybody sees a parallel or if it's just me, because that causes me to be a little more asinine, and I don't want to be like, putting them in the same trench, but this.
I'm the same way, Chuck. I have a hard time with this. I had an easier time with 30 condos because what it did was create affordable housing for the people that walk to work down here, and we desperately need that, but it is not historically accurate.
He could need low profile those to make that work.
Correct.
I didn't get it.
Yeah, the profile of that is
Huge.
outrageous.
It's huge.
Yes.
I'll look at it.
I mean, I'm with you. I mean, I've developer slash contractor my whole life, and it's like, I get the economic from his point, but
Right. Yeah, I was saying, it's just too big of a pill for me to swallow.
Yeah.
Entertain a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Move, Kathy.
but you don't write everything.
No, I'm moving. Lena.
Oh, not too far.
No.
How about that?
No, I mean, 25th.
You bought a house or you?
No, I bought